There are some people out there, I guess I would call them investigative journalists or former doctors, just some amazing people that are taking on a giant, and that's the pharmaceutical industry and all the financial interests of the pharmaceutical industry. And I feel like our country has been led astray by financial interests, the financial interests of the pharmaceutical industry, and things have really gotten really far along. And thank God for this profession of investigative journalists. In some ways, it's a very underappreciated profession. It's not generally a profession that people are financially rewarded when they pursue it. Many times they face threats against their career, against their well-being. It's a very tough job, and it takes a very special person to take on this kind of work. But there's a lot of talk about heroes in our country. People in the military or police officers, firemen. But I have to say, in a society like ours that is so dominated by the top 1%, the top 1%, most wealthy 1% of people in this country, now have such a gigantic portion of the wealth in this country that it's gotten to the point where they can kind of make their own rules, and rules that benefit their financial interests. And it's only people like these investigative journalists, and I'm going to name 3 of them. It's only because of the incredible heroic efforts by these investigative journalists that that we can stand up to these financial interests of the pharmaceutical companies. And so I applaud these people. I think they are courageous. First of all, they're brilliant people. But then on top of that, more than just being intelligent, hardworking, they're courageous. And they're altruistic. I mean, they are looking out for our best interests. They're trying to protect people who can't defend themselves, people who aren't aware of the shenanigans that are going on with these moneyed, the small moneyed class that's kind of lording over our society. And the first one I want to mention is this doctor, and he's a medical doctor named Andrew Wakefield, and his medical license was revoked. I guess largely because of his efforts to let people know about the connection between vaccines and autism. And I'll include a link from each of these people so you can get some sense of where they're coming from. I think all 3 of them are heroes. I have enormous respect for all 3 of them. And I'll include a link. Andrew Wakefield, he's the first one. He's a doctor who started researching the link between vaccines and autism. The next one is Robert Whitaker, and he's just done an incredible job investigating the unbelievable state that our country has gotten into with psychiatric drugs, pharmaceutical drugs to heal so-called mental illnesses. And he has a number of, he wrote a few books on the subject. He has a number of incredibly fascinating discussions on YouTube where he kind of lays out his position and just shines a light on how backward and just unscientific the psychiatry profession is. And then the third one is Gwen Olsen, and she is a former pharmaceutical sales representative, and she shines a light on just the deplorable morality of pharmaceutical salespeople. I don't know how else to put it. All these people deserve your attention. They all have done enormous amounts of research. They're all extremely well qualified. I guess one warning that I would leave people with is science and medical studies. I mean, people kind of treat the gold standard of truth as being medical research. If medical research shows something, then it must be true, because scientific research, medical research, is always is synonymous with truth. And unfortunately, that's not true. Unfortunately, wealthy, the wealth class, our wealthy overlords, have realized that they can manipulate people's views of the world by creating fraudulent medical studies and fraudulent science. And, I'm almost at the point now where I would just say, all medical studies, especially when they're funded by, financial interests, they're just worthless. They're just too biased, and, unless they're peer-reviewed, they're totally worthless. But then you have to question the intentions of the peers who reviewed the evidence, because big pharma's influence over all of the medical profession. I mean, their tentacles. They're paying off all of the top doctors in medicine. All of the top doctors are on the payroll of big pharma. So, I just can't put. All I can say is I don't have any confidence in medical research. It can't be trusted, because it's really just more and more. It's just becoming a tool for propaganda for pharmaceutical companies. So medical research, I would just urge you to take enormous caution whenever you believe anything that's a medical study. I guess I'll leave it with that. Be cautious. The best way to learn the truth is to, safely do your own experimentation. If it's regarding diet, do your own experiments, see how you react to different types of diets. What you find works best for you is probably the healthiest diet for you. Always do things safely, cautiously. Use extreme caution. You have to be careful who you listen to, and don't have this attitude. My suggestion is, don't have this attitude where you believe doctors. They're just, some of them are wonderful, honest people. I would say probably, I'd like to say most of them, but I don't even know if I could say that, because there's just so much corruption that they're exposed to and that they're vulnerable to. So I really urge you to be cautious about doctors as well. It's unfortunate because we look to doctors as a source of truth. Like when we're sick, we want to know the best way to get better. We want to know how we should heal ourselves. If we have medical problems, we want the best treatments that we can possibly have. We don't want that whole model to be, the foundation to have cracks in it. We want to trust doctors. That's our natural inclination, is to want to trust doctors and to be able to go to them for the truth. And it's just unfortunate, but the wealthy overlords of our society have corrupted, that part of our society, and doctors can no longer be trusted. You have to approach them with caution and a bit of suspicion, and always do enormous amounts of research to find out the best ways to deal with health issues. All right. Thanks for watching.